Number 9, veto of the resolution that you guys had to take the Freedomfest committee out of my hands. Is there any discussion on that, or does my veto stand?
I make a motion that that the council move to override the mayor's veto.
I'll second it with a comment. We put a formal organization in place to provide financial oversight. If there was not considerable money that was involved, I really am indifferent. But since we're approaching $20,000-$30,000, we are under obligation as the governing body to provide financial oversight with the money that has come to us, and that's why I'll second this motion to override the veto.
Question on money you're making reference to, Rod, what is that?
That would be the money that, part of it that they've approached the A&P Commission, and then part of it that that's coming out of the cities.
The Fall Festival, is the same thing set up? How's the Fall Festival committee set up?
We run it through the parks.
Is there an ordinance like this for the Fall Festival committee?
There's no committee other than the Park and Rec Committee, so when we have financial oversight of that through the budgetary concerns, and then Doug, and the money is not as considerable as this.
This is set up for the Veterans Committee the same way?
Yes, absolutely the same way. This is how I'd set up the Veterans Committee, and if you remember, the Veterans Committee was a basket case. We had cement mixers going somewhere. We had different things going. I still don't have the answers to where the money went in Veterans Committee, but once that we set that in place, set a formal resolution in place, these people that were appointed, and I didn't know who they were. I still can't tell you who they are. I still can't tell you who these appointees would be. And then they elected Richard McKinney as their chair. Everything's run smooth. We hadn't heard a thing about it. And Richard's come and he's reported to us every month, and I believe all money's in place. But before that point, I still don't have an idea of what happened to that cement mixer. We bought it out of the street department. We swapped it for some rock land. I don't know. And that's the reason we put, whenever money comes into it, that's when we need to have the financial oversight. That's what we're expected to do as the governing body.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Now, this new committee is not the committee that asked the A&P for the money.
No, sir.
So they're going to have to
I don't know what committee's what.
Well, that's just a clarification.
I don't know whose committee's who.
I know.
I think, you gave the A&P money for Freedom Fest. You didn't give it necessarily to a committee, did you?
The A&P money went to the Parks Department.
Okay, so there you go. So it's in the Parks Department.
The Parks Department supplied us a list of vendors that this money is going to. So that money can only go to the vendors they supplied us. Now, if this new committee wants to come in and
Set up different vendors.
set up different vendors, they're going to come and ask for another grant.
Come back to us, to the A&P, and ask for it.
Okay.
Well, I think to just kind of further along to when I asked the council, the mayor's comments in the paper was saying that he thinks the only reasons that he could determine that I proposed the resolution was for petty spite, hate, and out of control egos. And he said these are not valid reasons to dismiss a qualified committee. And I think that's for the same reason. I think we did have a qualified committee in place that did put on a very good Freedom Fest. And I think, again, for that reason, yes, why get rid of a very valid committee?
All right. Now, I did not get rid of a very qualified committee. I asked in January, I approached at a council, at a meeting here, I asked Mrs. Brown if she would get me a list of the people with phone numbers so that I could contact them. Did I not, Mrs. Brown?
According to the minutes, you asked Lance Terry.
Please speak up.
According to the city minutes, you asked Lance Terry. And what I said at that city council meeting was, you should go to the parks director. He was aware of everyone on the committee, and my issue is you bypass the park director and went straight to Jim Victor. The parks director was on that committee last year, and he was aware of everybody that was on the committee, and all you needed to do was sit down with Mr. Kinslow and find out what had already been accomplished for this year's event.
Okay. Now, did I not ask you for the list of phone
I
numbers?
don't recall you asking me. I recall
Okay.
you asking.
Mr. Terry, did I ask you?
According to the minutes, you did.
Okay, Tim, do you remember my asking?
I have no idea.
Come on, guys.
I probably approved the minutes.
AC, did you remember my asking Mrs. Brown for a list of people?
No, I don't recall you asking Mrs. Brown, no.
Okay, Mr. Gossett, do you recall my asking Mrs. Brown?
I think you did, yes, sir.
Doc?
Man, I don't recall, but I don't recall
Ron,
what we
do
did
you
last
recall?
meeting.
I don't.
Whatever's in the
Okay, well,
minutes, I stand by whatever's
just a
in the
second, sir. I'm
minutes.
talking, please. After the discussion that went on at the meeting the other day, I had Sandra pull up the video, go through it. Sandra, did I ask her for a list of the people so that I might be able to bring everybody together and have them form a committee out of everybody?
Yes, you did. Why not ask Becky Kinslow?
Doug, did I ask?
You asked me, you asked Ms. Brown?
If I asked Mrs. Brown?
That, sir, I do not recall. I don't.
Okay, now does anybody here, there is a video about it, we don't have to view it tonight, but anybody here is welcome to see the video. They can come down here to City Hall, it is on the video. Now, please. Okay, now, you're talking about the minutes. Mrs. Cade goes through the tapes, she goes through the videos, she writes out the minutes, and that's what's approved. Tonight's meeting is so far 3.5 hours, okay? For her to do all that typing and everything, she would spend days on it. So she does excerpts from it. She never misses the point. She never takes it to where it's out of context or anything. And I had her review it, and she said yes as well, that I did ask you, and I did ask Lance at the same time. So gentlemen, as far as I'm concerned, I did everything that I could up, above board, and by the book to get this committee going. I got no response from it, from either Lance or Mrs. Brown on this. I did what was necessary because of the short amount of time it is before the committee started, before the Freedomfest activities. I went to Mr. Newcomb. I said, Jim, can you put it together quickly? He said, yes. I think that I upheld the letter of the law. I think I did everything that was right. I think that it was other people that fell short, and I think that should be taken into consideration whenever the vote is called for.
My question is, why not go to the Parks Director? You're saying you did everything above the law, except go to the Parks Director.
Well,
All right, thank you.
I think Rod's point's well taken. I mean, my intent in passing the ordinance the initial time was not some personal vendetta against you or some support of some other group of people. I just like the idea of trying to avoid these kind of conflicts in the future. There's going to be another mayor at some point, and when there is, that mayor's going to want to appoint his committee, and this is a way of just taking all of those variables out of it, and you just say, this is how we have a committee, this is how we set it up, and it's that way moving forward. So my intent was to try to avoid some of those conflicts, not to try to make a personal stab at anyone.
Well, I was willing to do that next year. The only objection I had is that whenever you guys literally came up with this, I felt like you were saying, Dale, there's $20,000 involved here, we do not trust you.
That was not my intent. The ordinance laid out there, and somebody made a good argument that sounded like a reasonable reason to vote for it, and that's why I voted for it. And again, I still feel like it's a good idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. That was not meant to be an offense to you as a person.
At this point, we don't know who's on this committee anyway. I know there's a lot of personalities involved. Right now, with the Parks has put forward their two names, I know those two, and I know the name that the Veterans have put forward, and I don't know that guy. And so, whatever these other organizations, I don't know who these people are. And so, I know there's controversial people, and but I don't know who these people are. But this is the way we formally organize the committee, so we have proper financial oversight over it.
And then, these, as we've stated earlier, all these committee meetings are open to anyone that wants to come. Anybody who wants to be a part of the Freedom Fest activities or express their opinions, just who wants to be there, they can come and express their opinion. We're not closing this committee, it's just a start point.
All right.
So
You
anyway.
guys have a motion then?
I have a motion.
Have a motion and a second? All right. All those in favor of overturning my veto? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 1 abstain. Mr. Kim.
I was on that other committee, so that.
That's, I understand. Thank you.